conversation, just trying to like get him out the house. So maybe
like this house needs a lot of work.
Have you seen this?
All right. Welcome everybody to Generation H. We got Daryl here, we got Big Dilly, and we got Carlos. So in our last episode, we talked about the horror stories of our worst properties, even though they actually didn't turn out that bad.
Yeah, not that bad.
But today we're going to talk about our greatest properties, the ones we're most proud of, our best deal, or our most profitable deal, or just our most fun deal at the end of the day. All right. Well, I went first last time, so I'm out. I'm out of the rock paper scissors.
Come on, Carlos.
I'll take that. Ready?
Yep.
Yes.
All right.
We can go first.
So I think I wouldn't say greatest deal, but it was the funnest deal. It was a wholesale deal. For a lot of you that don't know what wholesale means, it's when you actually buy the house, don't do any work to it, take better pictures, and I mean technically wholesale is listing it. I did nothing to it.
No cleaning.
No cleaning, no nothing. I actually sold it to the tenant that was living in the house from the previous owner. So I bought this house. I met the owner because my dad met him at a yard sale. My dad met this guy at a yard sale. The guy was talking about how he hated his tenant and it was such a horrible rental. And my dad was like, all right, well, my son buys houses. He'd love to buy the house. So he gave him his number. My dad gave me the guy's number. I called him. We went and met at the place. Before we got there, the guy called me and was like, look, you're the septic guy. These people do not need to know I'm selling this house. You're the septic guy here to check on the plumbing. So I walked around the whole house, answered a bunch of plumbing questions from the tenant that I had no idea what I was talking about. I was just talking like, oh yeah, the plumbing over here. Let me check this pipe real quick. And we would go into the bedroom and he'd be like, there might be plumbing above the ceiling in the bedroom, and just so I could see the rooms. And no joke, walked outside and he made me look at the septic tank for 10 minutes. I had no idea what I was looking at. I'm just like, looks like a good septic tank. Lifted the lid a couple times. And no joke, we started negotiating and talking, and I ended up settling at $80,000 with the guy. And I was like, all right, perfect. And I had planned on renovating the whole house and everything. And he was like, look, do not tell the tenant that you're buying this until after you buy it. Yeah. I'm like, oh Lord, like this is going to be difficult. Like, what if she doesn't want to get out? Yeah. All of these things. So we're getting closer to closing, and I'm like, I got to tell her. Like, I got to at least mention something like, do you have a game plan? So I went to her a week before closing and was like, look, I'm purchasing the house. I would love to keep you because I was planning on keeping it as a rental. Yeah. I was just going to renovate the whole thing and then refinance and keep it as a rental. Well, come to find out, the woman was like, I have nowhere to live. She had lived there for 25 years. 25 years. And this guy never went to her and said, hey, do you want to move? Do you qualify or any of that? Come to find out, she qualified to purchase the house. So I turned around. I had bought it for $80,000. I turned around and told her that I'd sell it to her for $132,000. And no joke, I closed on it on Monday, let's just say the 1st. And by the 5th of the next month, 35 days later, she had qualified for the loan, went through, did the appraisal on the house and everything. And I actually went to her house and helped her qualify for her loan because she had never done any of that. She was 60, 70 years old, never bought a house in her life. So I taught her how to qualify for a loan, called the bank with her. They sent her somehow on FHA, you have to do a test. And I actually went to her house and did the test for her because she kept failing it. So I went there and I did the test for her as a good mortgagee. And I did the test for her and everything at her house. And no joke, she qualified and she closed on it 40 days later and for $132,000. And my net profit was $44,000 or so. So $44,000 just by being a good person and asking her if she would want to buy it. And no joke, she bought it from me. The way it sat, I didn't touch the house one bit. I did no cleaning. I had only walked in the house one time, and that was when I was the septic guy walking around the house. Other than that, I couldn't tell you what the house looked like. Had no idea. Yeah, so I essentially wholetailed it, but I didn't put it on the market, because wholetailing technically is putting it on the market.
Yeah.
But I didn't have to. I just sold it to the tenant that he had living there for 27 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Best deal and most creative, and it made me feel good knowing that this woman didn't have to move out of a house she lived in all her life.
It was a win-win.
A win-win.
And
100% win-win.
It was just a missed opportunity by the current
and
or the former
do you know
owner.
how funny this is? He checked the property records months later and had the nerve to call me and said, "You sold that house for how much?" And I was like, "Yeah, I went in there, I did a few things and sold it." And he was like, "Who ended up buying it?" Like, I was like, I didn't want to tell him. Funny enough, but your tenant actually qualified, and shame on you for never. But he hated the woman. I don't know why, because she was a nice woman. I don't know why he hated her, but.
So was he pissed at you?
Oh, he was so pissed. He was super pissed that I sold it to his tenant. But I mean, shame on him for not asking.
Yeah.
In all reality, I don't feel like I was in the wrong. I asked her first, and
In a
I
way,
helped her qualify.
Wow.
In a way, he was red taping her, right? Like he was
Red taping
discriminating against her for whatever reason.
Whatever
Bad
it would've-
blood, whatever.
Oh, it didn't matter. Yeah. And
But he didn't give her the opportunity.
didn't give her the opportunity, and I gave it to her. And not only did I give it to her, but I helped her through the whole process, because I know the mortgage process.
And she's never owned a house.
Never
before
owned a
you
house.
Sold her one.
Yeah. Yep.
And
So it was a
she
good
owned
feeling. Now she owns the house she's lived in for 27 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
And
crazy.
all because I helped her qualify.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So that was a win-win, and it made you feel good.
Yeah.
I made good money, and it was a good deed.
Yeah.
So
Happy tenant.
yeah, happy tenant.
Unhappy ex-owner though.
Yeah. Oh, very unhappy. He was so mad. He hung up on me too, and I haven't talked to him since.
All right, Carlos, what you got?
So for me, it was a house that that we decided to flip. So it was a flip that we did. It was very off the whim. One morning, wake up, there's an email. I look at it. It'd probably been sitting for like 4 hours. And I was like, oh, that'd be really interesting to kind of take a look at and maybe explore as like a keep or a flip. We reach out to the wholesaler. Didn't really have any kind of activity on the house. So I was like, all right, well, do you have any planned showings, whatever? He was like, yeah, I do in a couple of hours. So everything just kind of like was was working out up to that point, right? So then we show up a couple of hours later. I start walking through the house, and it's a nice little corner lot. Probably almost sits on like an acre or something like that, really close to pony pasture. And we walk through the house, and I immediately am enamored with the house. I'm like, this is awesome. It has a nice little driveway, garage. Like, you don't have to do that much to it because it's very square. So I immediately pretty much asked the wholesaler, I'm like, hey, are you like, is this negotiable, or like, are we good with this price and you're happy with it? And I can.
What was the price?
160 something, I think.
Nice.
And he was like, yeah. He was like, I mean, as long as you can prove funds, he was like, I don't mind assigning it right now. So.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
Fortunately, I had a pretty good relationship with my lender at the time, so they were like, yeah, proof of funds. I mean, we had it pretty much while we were still there. We could provide that. And we left there. Now, there were still people walking the house at the time.
Oh, you were that dude that gets it under contract when people are-
I was that dude. And they were walking through. He was like, I'm not going to be disrespectful. Like, I'll have them finish walking the house. And then once we leave from there, we'll meet at a restaurant, and then I'll give you the contract to sign. Because he had, as any good wholesaler, he had the contract ready to go.
Well, were you worried that one of those people in the house were going to outdo you right then and there if they made an offer, kind of like what you did?
No, because like I was overhearing the conversations that they were having, and they were like, "Oh, we need to go back. We need to check." It was almost like they were like posturing to negotiate, and I was like, "I'm fine with it, right?"
Good.
So we're walking through. I'm starting to talk to the other buyers. I'm just like having a friendly conversation, just trying to like get them out the house. So maybe like
this house needs a lot of work.
Have you seen this?
So I don't know, like 20, 30 minutes in, we just go to the restaurant early, have lunch, whatever, and then the wholesaler ends up meeting us out once everybody's gone. So we go, we sit down, we fill out the contract, everything's good. We close in like, I don't know, a week or something. It's like 10 days. We close. We pretty much work on the project for about 3.5 weeks or something like that. Almost 30 days. Work on it for about 30 days, let's say. Put it on the market. It goes under contract. I think it was for like 18 or so over ask, right?
Nice.
Within 24 hours. So we immediately accept because it made sense. We had other offers, but that was by far the best with no inspections. Just like a lot of very favorable terms.
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, that works. So then, we wait the 30 days, the typical stuff, and then once we close, it was right around, I think it was exactly 60 days from the moment we initially closed on it, renovations done, closing happening, right? And to close, it was 60 days, and our net was $64,000. So it was essentially $1,000 a day of owning it, or $2,000 a day of doing work on it.
That's
and
awesome.
Everybody got paid. Roofers, my guys, like everybody got paid, and I walked away with $2,000 a day. So
There you go.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
So
That's a
it
good
was
one.
very short, sweet, and it made some good money on it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
$1,000 a day, you can't complain there.
Yeah, you can't. Not at all. Not at all.
So
What you got, Dylan?
for mine, is I went to a Motley's tax auction, and at the end of these tax auctions, they auction off consignment property. So just if you want to sell one of your properties, you can send it to the auction, and people can bid on it. You could put whatever a reserve. So I went there. There's a house in Churchill that I was bidding on, and I was the winning bid for $180,000, which was really, really cheap in my opinion, that I thought. So after I bid on it, I actually didn't see the house yet. So right from there, I went to drive to the house. I thought it was like going to be a vacant house, so I was like trying to get in the door, and then a tenant opens the door. And they're like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I just bought this house." and then he started like, "Oh, okay, cool, yeah, she's been trying to sell it for a little bit." So so then I got the owner's number from the tenant, and then I called the owner, and it turns out that there was a reserve on the house that we didn't know about, and she wanted $280. So yeah,
180 to 280. That's a big
180 to
difference.
280. Yeah, huge difference.
Steal.
Now this house was a triplex, which was sweet, and
Nice.
I think I got my emotions a little too involved in it because I was just like, "Oh, this is a pretty house." So at first, first off, I called her. I met up with her. She said she's willing to owner finance it, which was sweet. So she financed the whole 280. It did need a good amount of deferred maintenance, but I was willing to do the work, and I was planning on moving in and living there and doing the work while I lived there, rent out the other 2 units.
Nice.
So I did end up closing on it at first for 280. Did a lot of I probably saved so much money just doing the repairs myself and all that. I ended up being all in for like $330,000. So I put 50 of my own cash into it, fixing it up. I went to go refinance it, pay her off the loan, and it appraised for $400 at that time.
Nice.
No wait, 400. So I was able to pull out $300,000. So I, paid her off for $280. I still had to leave some money in it at the time, but then once those tenants moved out, because it was a rooming house, one of the places, and I was having huge problems with like food, people eating each other's food, boyfriend and girlfriend fighting. One of them had a baby that I didn't even know about, and there, but because I bought it as a rooming house, so I kept it a rooming house for a little bit. Then I was so tired of it that I just said, "Hey, I told him I was selling the place, and utilities are getting turned off." So the night before they were supposed to all move out, I saw them all packing their bags, and I was like, yes. So all 3 of them moved out. I went in there, fixed that one up, and now that house, the triplex, I Airbnb both other units, and I live in the one unit.
Nice.
I went and refinanced it again once rates lowered a little bit, and this time it appraised for $480. So then I pulled out another $55,000 because I paid off my old loan and plus closing costs. I pulled out another $55,000, essentially getting all my money back. And now one of the Airbnb units makes about $4,000 to $5,000 a month, and then the other one makes around $2,000 to $3,000 that we just started, but it's probably going to be making around $2,000 or $3,000 a month. And I live for free with the mortgage. That's $1,900.
Wow.
And at the time, I didn't think it was the greatest deal. I thought I overpaid for it. I was really nervous of a market crash because even at that time in 2019, people were still saying what they're saying today.
Yeah.
You know, we're at the top. We're at the top. But you just you really never know. And market bailed me out in a really good way. And that area in Churchill North was getting developed like crazy.
Oh, yeah.
New builds on every block. And now they're still doing new builds on every block. Really brought up the appreciation. And Airbnbs are doing really well now because it's an area that people want to actually live in. When I first moved in, I was hearing gunshots every now and then, but now I hardly ever hear them. And So
Winning.
And to this day, it still is probably my best cash flow and equity asset because now I have $120,000 in equity on that property
That's awesome.
that I have no money into. That cash flows me $4,000 roughly.
So you were house hacking before you knew what house hacking was.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
And it was probably my funnest one. And at the end of the day, it's probably, when I go to sell it down the road, it's going to be my most profitable. I can guarantee it.
Oh, yeah. Who knows what it's going to be like?
Yeah.
I mean, Churchill is growing so much.
Yeah.
You're going to be a $500,000-$600,000 house before you know it.
Yeah, and it's an old historic house.
Yeah.
It still has the old frame brick, like great architecture.
Stone.
The
Yeah.
tiger
It's
in the
very-
front.
Yeah, we got 2 lions out front. But anyways, guys, any closing comments from you guys, or?
No,
Those
I
are
mean-
our greatest houses. I mean, some of them
in very different ways.
very different.
Right?
Yeah.
Very different ways.
Yeah.
We
My
could have
favorite.
picked 10 more if we wanted
Yeah,
to. I mean,
yeah.
let's be real. I had 10 other great ones, but
Yeah.
that was the most fulfilling one. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, there's so many we could have talked about, but
Oh yeah. Pick
our
one,
best. Yeah.
roll,
Yeah.
and next year let's
Be a
do
different
another
one.
one.
Yeah.
Pick a different one.
Yeah.
Probably be a better one that comes up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And probably a worse one too, maybe.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
I hope not.
Definitely.
Oh no.
But anyways, guys, don't forget to subscribe. Hit that like button. Simple little poke of the like button. Creation. We are out.